It is a beautiful, beautiful Monday morning in spring. How are you, sir?
Indeed, I am doing fantastic, and it couldn't be better because I'm in the garden state as we speak. But talking about flowers, tell me who we are having blooming on our show this morning.
Oh, wow. The puns are plentiful today. David, I got to tell you, I'm really excited today because we have a very esteemed guest, right? We have somebody who's actually been in our collective industry for quite some time, right? So today on our show, I am pleased to tell you, David, that we have the first female PCAM in the state of New Jersey. So please, can we get a warm welcome? A warm welcome to the show from Miss Elaine Warga-Murray. Elaine, thank you so much for being with us. Can you tell us and our viewers a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay, and thank you. I'm happy to be here with you guys. Let's see. I've been in the property management or community management business since 1981. And I received, 1981. I know that makes me very, very old, but that's okay. You know, being old is a blessing. It may be unpleasant at times, but it's definitely a blessing. And I started out, I opened my own company but I received my PCAM in 1984. I was running a cable television studio because my background is film and television, and part of my responsibilities was doing the video training of 400 employees. So I learned everything about the job, and then they had me work as the general manager, community manager of the communities of Concordia when that opened in 1984.
How did it all get started? Because you started in the 80s, you were in the TV business. Now, how do you make that transition? What pulled you in to work for that developer in the first place?
Well, they had a cable television studio, and they wanted me to run it and do local origination as well as all the video training for all of their employees, from the grass cutters and irrigation people to the property managers, maintenance, everybody. So I knew everybody's job. And so when they opened Concordia, they said, okay, you're the property manager.
Okay. So, and that's a really big place, Concordia. So things have changed. Things have evolved. Common interest communities have grown. In some parts of the country, it's over 50% of all new construction. Can you give us a little bit of history? Like how has community management changed over the years from then till now?
Well, for one thing, there was no technology. You had to actually deposit the checks into the bank. You physically had to write out the deposit slip and deposit the checks into the bank. Isn't that crazy? And so I went to a local bank and I said, I can't do this. This is a huge industry. We have to be able to mail them to a lockbox, and you guys need to be able to send us an email of all the people whose deposits were made. So I was one of the first people to make the bank get a lockbox, and I was one of the first people to make them give us the check number and the date of the check, as well as the name and the amount. Because up until then, they were just saying there was a deposit of like $400. And I said, no, I need the check number. I need all of that. And eventually they started doing the pictures. And of course, there was no software. I think I was using Lotus as my financial management.
Wow. I remember Lotus.
Software.
Wow. No kidding. So that's like not something that a lot of people might think about, but that's really, really major, especially when we're talking about a place like Concordia that's just absolutely massive. So what are the kind of big changes that have happened since back then?
Well, of course, we have, electronic payments. We have lock boxes that basically do most everything for us, and software, property management, community management software that does a lot of things for us, such as we don't have to hit every single association or every person who's late. It automatically sends late notices to the people who haven't paid by the 10th or the 15th of the month. And the technology has made community management jobs absolutely easier and able to focus more on serving the community and handling the residents of the community and the resident community issues.
That's amazing. But I think also from a previous conversation you and I had, things have changed too into the role of the managers and how they are perceived and their place in the community association world. And just 2 weeks ago, we had in New Jersey the Conquer and Connect conference. It's an event that was put together by the Women's Leadership Committee. I know you've been a speaker at this event in the past, but can you tell me or tell us why these type of retreats are so important for the industry at large?
It is so important, first of all, and I have to say this, the networking. Number one is the networking, because the amount of people who you can meet and interact with, including vendors, attorneys, accountants, other managers, insurance vendors, every single interaction is important. And you learn so much from the networking. That's the first thing. And secondly, the program is so rejuvenating because essentially every time someone learns something new, they are rejuvenated. And every time something is repeated that you already know, you are rejuvenated because, oh, thank God I know that. And so it is so important that it builds a sense of professionalism. It builds a sense of camaraderie with the people with whom you network. And it also provides additional continuing education. So those types of retreats are invaluable.
Now, let me just follow up with a question that is specific to the topic of the conference,
Yeah.
which has to do with female leadership. What are some of the obstacles that female leaders must overcome in the community association field? And that I know you can speak from experience.
Yes. First of all, most people don't, especially since I started in this industry, women have not traditionally been thought of as leaders, number one. And number two, community managers are not necessarily leaders in the sense that they are working for a community association board. So one of the things that I did to develop leadership skills among people with whom who I employed and with whom I work is to advise that leadership is not being the boss. That's not leadership. Anybody can be a boss, but being a leader is something that has to happen kind of empirically from influence, making sure you have the respect of the people and you have respect of the people you deal with by your knowledge, by your education, and by your effectiveness, being on time, never saying something that you don't know and pretending to know something, but actually building a sense of respect. Secondly, you have to be persuasive. If you don't persuade people, and you're not able to persuade people, you're not going to be successful, because getting people to do what you need them to do in order for the property and for them to be successful. So leadership is more than just being a boss. It's not about being a boss. I mean, I started in this industry as a community manager, and believe me, as a female, and I was young then. Can you imagine that? I was young. And a young woman just didn't have authority. So I had to build their trust. I had to build their respect, and I had to build my own career in a sense. And I think we all have to take responsibility for that. Don't wait for someone else to give you a career.
I like that.
Absolutely.
Anybody can be a boss, but not everybody can be a leader. I like that. Thank you very much for that, Elaine. That's good words of wisdom.
It definitely is. It's very inspirational. So how do you see the future, though? I mean, so we've come a long way, clearly, right? So how does the future look for the leaders that are up and coming now? Do we see a light at the end of the tunnel? Is things getting better? Are they leveling off? What do you think?
Well, I think that the professionalism has grown, and that managers are becoming more and more focused on having a professional career than simply having a job. That's number one. And number two, I think CAI has completely supported the professionalism and has provided the best education for community managers. And in terms of the future, I think that, first of all, the client is more educated and expects more. That's number one. And number two, the property managers and community managers are also more educated. And so they have now begun to accept that they are a professional. They are not simply in a job. And that has changed the dynamics, because in the, I call them the old days, in the 80s, people were making cakes and cookies and trying to win people over by, being nice to them, as opposed to providing the proper service. Yeah, you have to be nice to them. I'm not saying that, but bringing cookies to the board meeting is not the most important thing you have to do for the day.
Do you have any advice for some of the younger or up and coming managers out there?
They need to, number one, find a mentor. Find someone who is willing to mentor you, that you can shadow and look to for advice and information. And of course, the other thing is the famous cash box, KASH. That's knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits. Make sure you have a correct amount of knowledge and get more knowledge if you need it. Have a good attitude, hone your skills, and have good habits.
Wow, very nice. I like that.
Okay, notes. So let's say if you could go back in time and give a piece of advice to young Elaine Warga-Murray when you were, let's say, 84, the years that you got your PCAM, if I remember well. So what piece of advice would you give to this young up and coming property manager, community association manager?
Stop taking things personally.
Ooh, good one.
Wow.
Man, you are full of knowledge.
Very, very simple, very direct. I like it. I like it. Now, Elaine, I just want to thank you so much for being on the show and sharing us with the depth of knowledge. I mean, it really the experience that you have in this industry. I mean, there's very few people that do it better than you. And we like to give our guests an opportunity. You said mentor before, which is we believe that's very, very important. Is there anybody in your life, in your career? I mean, it could be a charity, it could be a mentor, just somebody that you'd like to recognize that helped you and guide you along your journey.
Unfortunately, my mentors are no longer with us because, as I told you, I'm very old. And so my mentors, mom was one. My mom was a teacher, and she basically was a mentor in the sense that she told me I could do whatever I wanted. I could be whatever I wanted to be, and that I needed to take responsibility, not just for my own happiness, but for my own self in terms of what I wanted to do in my life. My second mentor was my second husband, and he was a developer. And before he became my husband, he was my mentor in terms of making sure that I understood that you don't take things personally. You need to do business and act on your own logic and gut feelings about what is the right thing to do for the business success and personal success.
We're very, very happy to have you with us this morning. Everybody, whoever's going to be in Vegas for the CI National, we'll see you there. And Elaine, I'll see you sometime very soon, somewhere in Jersey or Pennsylvania.